You know, something I wanted to ask you about for this interview something I think that you're relatively open about, but I don't think a lot of people who stumble across your music realize or notice about you is that you know, at heart you're a real kind of music nerd person. You know, I mean, which is why I wanted to fucking talk to you because
Yeah, I wore one of my
well, that, I
favorite
was
band
going to ask
shirts.
you about that too in a second. So you know, I wanted to ask you, when exactly did you kind of fall into this rabbit hole where you found yourself obsessing over obviously not just hip hop and all the shades of that are incorporated in your music, but also pop and punk and metal and alternative rock and electronic music too. I mean, you know, what exactly was kind of some of your first obsessions with particular artists and genres that have kind of given you this eclectic taste that you're still rocking today?
I had a family that was really into rock music, actually. My dad likes Pink Floyd and um, Led Zeppelin. My dad likes Santana. My dad likes, dad likes classic rock. My dad likes new wave, like my dad likes Depeche Mode and Tears for Fears, and my uncles like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and my babysitter in ceremony. I grew up indigenous, and in the ceremony, I would have this 12-year-old goth girl babysit me, and she like was obsessed with Korn and Rob Zombie, and I just felt like the coolest girl in the world. And I grew up with her, and she was like she was like an old school, like cyber, like industrial goth. And she was like too cool. And I was like, why are you so cool? So, she always played music around me and always had her interest. And I wasn't just like this kid I was very curious. I was a very curious child around everything. And I thought the art was good. So I just inquired about it and took to it. And every little instance, I think, I'm also from New York City. My dad is from the Lower East Side. I'd get off at Astor Place every weekend and walk through St. Mark's Place, walk through Tompkins Square Park, seeing, Trash and Vaudeville, seeing all the East Side Village punks, all the, going to see Howl in the park. I just grew up a little bit different, I think, that I think people expect someone like myself to grow up, or a person of color. And I never shied away from those things. I didn't think that I need to hide them because I may come off a bit different. It was what I liked. And I grew up liking bands. I loved bands growing up. I had a particular affection for the classics and for rock music. And I started collecting CDs and looking at MTV and music channels and radio very feverishly. I think a little bit more than the average person my age. I was always kind of grown for my age and had my own tastes and my own desires. And I was encouraged to follow them and like them at home. It was never listening to devil music or I don't like this, or this is weird. It was always fine. Everything was fine. So, yeah, I like started going to listening to bands, downloading a lot of illegal music on LimeWire.
That was a go-to for me too. So.
Yeah. Oh, completely, really inspired by social media, seeing, other goth kids, other scene kids, other punk kids, and knowing it was okay. And then when I was 14, like I started going to shows. My first concert was Kitty.
Yes.
And Bring Me the Horizon. And played at BB King's in New York City, and it's so cool. And there's like an underground metal, there's like a hardcore there's a hardcore show in the Bronx in New York City that local bands would play at, and a lot of Bronx kids would go. Like a lot of Black and Afro Latino kids would go in New York City to this one. It was in a basement of a Lutheran church, and I mean, I would just do things like that, and they kind of have always stayed with me. My goth phase or my emo phase was never a phase, never at all. It was always about music, and it was always about self-expression. And I'm a rapper. I love to rap. I love creating storytelling with rhyming and poetry. but I'm just, I have so many interests. It's not even just rock music. I like all types of music. I like all types of art mediums, and I'm never afraid to show it or convey it into my artwork or my music or my storyline.
Thank you very much for watching this interview clip over on TND Streams. To see the full interview, click on the video link next to my head or down below, or hit up the link to subscribe to the channel or see our Patreon page to support what we do and get some extra bonus monthly content in the process. Anthony Fantano, forever.